Welcome to the Pursuit of Growth live chat. This is episode number 9, and today we are going to be talking about professional work. And as always, I'm joined by my pal, my former colleague, and co-author, Mr. Sammy Gonzalez. What's up, Sammy?
Hey there, Greg. Hope everything is doing great down in Dallas, up here in the mean streets of Frisco, holding it down up here for all of us Northerners. And I promise I'll do better at talking later on down in this episode than I am doing now. So I hope all is well. I haven't seen you in a while. We're how many months now into this COVID situation? I think it's not 3 now, 3.5.
Yeah, I think we're closing in on 3 months since the I guess the spring break time frame, kind of in mid-March. I think is when in Texas this really kind of dropped, and we started seeing businesses close and people sheltering in place. So it's been about 3 months. So that's, gosh, what a long time.
It is, it's funny that it's even June already. Like you think like we just started this year, and now all of a sudden it's June. Like it's going by fast. So, but with that being said, one of the things we're going to touch on today, a chapter in the book, which is actually chapter number 10 in our book, The Pursuit of Growth, which is available online. You can go to our website at livetpg.com and you can check out the book. Can't get a fancy bookmark just yet, but my daughters will custom make them for you. But chapter 10, professional work. It's not something that probably a lot of people spend a lot of time thinking about outside of just trying to advance themselves in their careers or advance in their jobs. But I think we do a really good job of highlighting what the importance of focusing on growth in your professional work is. And so I think maybe we should touch on that as we start, and then go down the road and leave some people with some actionable tips like we have been over the course of the past few live chats.
Yeah, and I think you really brought up a good point, Sammy, that from a universal standpoint, I think the typical person, when they think about their professional work, they think about, well, what are my opportunities to advance? How much money am I making? And do I like my job? And does my job give me excitement? Does my job give me passion? And so I think it's a little bit of a selfish way of looking at what work can do for you, as opposed to what you can do for your professional work. And, we talk about this in the book, and it still to this day really hits me hard. Poll after poll, survey after survey, research study after research study shows that if you look at the American workforce, 87 to 90% of our workforce considers themselves unengaged in their job, which means they don't have a passion for the work they do. They don't wake up excited about the work they do. They don't feel like the work that they're doing plays a significant role in advancing the mission of the work and the company that they work for. And if you think about the fact that the average American spends 40 to 50, some people even 60 hours a week working their job, the fact that 80 to 90% of people are unengaged and do not find joy in their work, I think is a major issue that needs to be addressed and needs to really be solved. And we give our take on how to do that in the book. And I think we have some actionable items that actually will help people to be able to address that situation if you're one of those people that falls into the category of the unengaged workforce.
Yeah, and I can speak from experience of being one of those people at a point in time in my career when I was very unengaged and honestly unmotivated. It just felt like there was nothing in it for me. It's like I was just part of the system. I was just there, and it was a woe is me mentality towards the role that I had. And it was nothing better than that 5 o'clock hour to hit so I could walk out the door. I would time it to where I was walking out to where right at 5, I would hit the doors and be walking out. That's how bad it was for a while. But then that's when things started to spark. I realized, and this is before the Pursuit of Growth framework even started. This is actually before you and I even started to work together. And that was where I really started to take some initiatives and start to do some things such as reaching out to other people and asking how I can help, reaching out to other departments and seeing if there's any loose projects I can take over. I figured if I'm sitting around and completing my work so quickly and doing it so precisely, I was having a lot of free time and I was seeing that as like unengagement. Well, what I wasn't seeing was the opportunity. I didn't know that I wasn't seeing it as opportunity to be able to then go and help and serve and learn and do more, because I didn't think there was anything more about that. And so that's when it really changed my mindset to be able to go and talk to other people, get to know other people. If we were in a 4-hour meeting like we would have at some point in time, you know, come prepared with notes, have questions, chime in. Like I've literally seen people fall asleep in some meetings before. But that's when I would, do the old, hey, can I see that slide again real quick? And take a look at it and say like, well, I had a question about that. And everyone else may know this in the room, but what does that mean? They let you know. It's like, thanks. And more often than not, after the meetings, it was like, hey, thanks for asking that. I wanted to know too. So it's really taking some passion into what you say and giving your passion to your work. And that's something that we talk about in the book, is not allowing yourself to feel that you need passion from your work or like doing a job that provides you passion. And we illustrated pretty eloquently, I would just say, is that you should be, no matter what you're doing, give that passion back to your work. And it really can become infectious to all the people that you work with in your leadership.
Yeah, one of the life events that really stands out to me, I was invited to go and speak about 2 years ago on a panel at the University of North Texas. And the topic of conversation was passion with your work. And it was myself, it was the CEO of a major real estate company, and a CEO and an entrepreneur that runs, I think, gosh, 7 or 8 different businesses, and then me. And so I think it was clear to me that I was a kind of last minute fill in because someone had fallen off. But the event organizer had known me from my role at Vogel Alcove. And when she reached out to me, she said, Greg, I don't know many people that have more passion for their work than you do. And I think you'd be a great fit for this panel. And what was interesting is I was clearly the person on this panel that had the least amount of overall career experience. I was not the CEO of a major organization. And so I think I brought a little bit different perspective. And it was interesting because it was kind of a roundtable discussion in front of a group. And as these two CEOs talked, they talked a lot about making sure that you find work that you love so that you can give passion to this work. And really, we're kind of going down the road of like, you're never going to be satisfied until you find that dream job. So keep grinding and finding that. And they're not necessarily incorrect by saying that, but I challenged them. And my thought was, I think that while it is very important for us to pursue work that we do enjoy, and that we pursue work that we find fulfillment in, that can be a journey. And I don't think in most circumstances do you just come out of college or high school or out into the workforce and just fall into this job that is just this Christmas morning, environment. And I think one of the reasons why is you have to learn and grow and understand the challenges, trials, obstacles, and successes that can come from all different types of jobs. But what I said, I think the important thing is we shouldn't expect our jobs to give us passion. And what I mean by passion, if you define passion, passion is excitement. It shouldn't be your job's responsibility to give yourself excitement. It should be your responsibility to give your excitement to your job. And when you do that, I believe then things start to change. And when you start coming up with personal goals that go along with your company goals, and you start putting excitement and work and passion into that, you start seeing things change. And I think one of the reasons why people are so unengaged in the workforce is, one, they don't feel important with their role. Two, they may feel like the role either isn't challenging enough, or they feel like they don't have the right types of responsibilities, or they may feel like they're in situations where they're completely overworked and they have too much on their plate and they can't handle all the different responsibilities. And then maybe most importantly on why people feel unengaged is because they don't have good relationships with their boss and they don't have good relationships with their colleagues. So for all of those answer or all of those obstacles, the answer that you and I really believe in, it goes to the core of the pursuit of growth. So what are those challenges and how can you pursue growth in making yourself important in your role at work, making yourself grow in the relationships with your boss and your colleagues, making yourself grow in the responsibilities that you have. And if you're in a circumstance where you've got too much going on, how can you work to be able to maybe relieve some of those responsibilities? Or perhaps, what if you got even better at your job? You got better at organizing yourself. You got better at time management. Maybe you don't have too much on your plate. Maybe it's an opportunity to grow in your skills and your attitude and your mindset to be able to handle that differently. And so that's a lot to say. And each of those things needs specific plans and accountability and structure. But again, for something that you're spending 40 to 50 to 60 hours a week doing, give me the reason why you shouldn't be pouring passion into making your job an environment that challenges you and that brings you joy each and every day.
Yeah, and there's a lot that goes in there. And I'm glad you highlighted a lot of those because it's so different, especially for different people in different phases of their career. I know for the longest time, just using another example of myself, I struggled with learning how to or learning how to work. Like I was waiting for someone to tell me like how to do my job. Now they can give you specifics on, hey, push this button to do X, right? Or hey, every Thursday at 2 o'clock we have a meeting and this is what you're expected to bring to this meeting. That's different. But it's like understanding how to actually do your job is one level of importance. But then learning how to do that job and do it better is just it takes you to that next level. And that's where I struggled a lot. It's like I knew how to do my job. And that was the story that I told earlier. And I was really good at it. But then when I started looking at how I can then be better at my job and learning how I can function at a higher level, but then also bring on some other tasks and some other skill sets that would be useful to the company and to my team members, that's where it really took the next level and the next step. So yeah, it's funny that a lot of people, they get out of school and or maybe they switch jobs and they have a new job and they're expecting all the answers to be laid out there for them. Now they may know, let's just say they're a project manager, right? There's project management skill sets, but how do you use those to solve those complex problems and provide value back to the people that you're working with? How do you work with your colleagues who maybe you haven't met yet, or you don't really know that well? And how do you get to know them? Like putting together those plans, even on getting to know your employees and your colleagues, it's such a key component. It goes back down to communication as well. Knowing that you're going to be that person in the office that's going to ask the good questions, that's going to come prepared for meetings, it's going to want to do a little bit extra to get ready, plan out your days, plan out your evenings, send that extra email and maybe that email should have been a meeting or vice versa. But at least getting into the habit of understanding what you're doing, what you need to do and how you're going to do it, I think goes a long way. And it really will show your management and your supervisor, boss, whatever you want to call it, the opportunity or showing that you're really trying to put forth that extra effort. But I think you hit a key point in there too, is about knowing your leadership, knowing who your boss is, and getting to know them a little bit better, or your team members, because so many people I feel are so afraid of making a mistake that they never even ask a question. Like they're more afraid to stay quiet and not learn and grow and just say like I'm happy to have a job versus saying like why do we do this, why is it this way, because oftentimes it's like, oh, that's the way we've always done it. It's like, well, can I make this better, or can I do something different? So I think that's a key component that you just mentioned there. And I have a running joke when I talk to people that are getting new jobs. So the two most important people to know to get things done in your company are always to know the HR director and always know whoever's in charge of the budget. As long as you know those two people, you
Mhm.
can accomplish a lot of things because you'll get a ton of insight from the HR director and you'll get all the questions answered about money that you need, especially if you're in a role in which you're having to do, manage those two different things too. So just some key components there. Maybe we'll write those down for the action items.
Yeah, and it made me think too is, when you look at yourself, um, and you ask yourself, well, what type of employee should we all striving to be? And I think that is, are we a person that gets results? Are we a person that people trust? And are we a person that can communicate openly, transparently, in and out of our organization? And those three things are so important in the work world that we live in, whether you're working remotely, whether you're working in a huge corporation or a small business. And in terms of communication, whether if you're the boss, if you're the CEO, or if you're the direct supervisor, having communication with the people that you work with is so critical. And one of the things that you and I think, Sammy, we've talked about a lot of times is if you're in a role where you're not the ultimate decision maker and you have a boss, a CEO, how are you managing up? How are you leading them and helping them? And I think one of the most powerful questions that anybody can ask their boss is consistently asking, how can I make your job easier? And when you ask that question, one, you're letting your boss know that you care and you understand there's something bigger than you. Two, you're going to find out really quick what the priorities in your company and with your particular role are. So it really helps you to know where your focus and your alignment should be. And I think that conversation also brings up the opportunity to have more in-depth conversations about just every ins and outs that are going on in your business. And again, it helps to build trust, especially when you learn what those important items are and you start delivering the results to help them. And it kind of goes back to what you said when we first started talking. Again, each of us has assignments and roles and responsibilities and results that we have to be accountable for. But in addition to that, how can we help our colleagues? How can we help make their job easier? How can we help to build them up? And sometimes it's just open conversations about kind of how they're doing, where they're struggling at, where they're succeeding at. How can our role, potentially be able to support them in certain ways, and just having really open conversation. But the key to all of what I just said, I think, lies in the fact that we really have to look at our ego. And on a lot of these live chats, the ego tends to come into things we talk about because our attitude is so critical in every aspect of life. And when you really can get your ego in check and you're open to criticism, you're open to understanding how you can do better, you're open to understanding that it's not all about your success, but it's about helping everybody around you succeed. And kind of the old analogy that, a rising tide lifts all ships. And so that mindset just goes so far. And I just think if you can really reprogram your mind again around active progress in terms of how can you grow in all the skill sets, the mindset, and the opportunities that your job or career presents you, as opposed to just thinking, what are the material things I can achieve? It really just changes the way that we approach our work. And again, those 50, 40, 60, however many hours of work we're putting in per week, it just completely changes our life.
Yeah, it's great. You touched on something that's so key, but and I wrote it down here for a takeaway, but that communication factor, again, it's like from colleagues to people you manage to people that manage you, but being open and transparent, finding out ways that they communicate well, setting up time to meet with them, even if it's not something that you regularly do. A little hack there is to just say like, hey, I'm trying to get a good understanding of what we do and how we do it. Would you mind if we spent 30 minutes each week, just you and I, just going over what my role is, my responsibilities, how is it that I can do something better as we continue to learn and evolve. And you'll find that a lot of times, like, people are really apt to be able to mentor and guide you because it also makes them feel important because they are, they have institutional knowledge, they understand how to connect with other people, and as you do that, you're lifting them up as well. Like you're helping them learn how to learn, right? Because that very same phrase that we said, like you're able to then show them that they matter to you, and then hopefully they feel like they matter to someone else too. So giving them extra little bit of purpose in their position as well, in their role. And some people are natural mentors that kind of take on newbies all the time. And I speak about this a lot because I've recently had a career change in March, and it's the number one. It's something I've never really officially done before. But then number two, it's within a new industry as well. And so going into it, like there was a lot of new things, and I'm very appreciative of my colleagues and coworkers and managers that have been able to shepherd and guide me along the way. But I too ask a bunch of questions. I set up those meetings. I put in that extra effort that's going to take. And so again, it goes back to having that plan. It goes back to an action manual. It has smart goals, and my one thing that I have to be very careful of, and something that I want to share with the audience, is to also understand to have patience. Because for me, I can go moving really quickly and want results now, but I do have to take a step back and sit down sometimes and say, in time this will come. But keep working the plan and keep doing the things that you need to do to be able to develop that and that growth in your professional career.
Yeah, and I think another thing that's important about communication, and it kind of goes hand in hand with what we call having boundaries. And so, while yes, we need to be helping other people, we need to be growing in our professional work, we need to be achieving the goals that we're accountable for. We all know that we can get so many things coming our way, and we're asked to do so many different initiatives and different things that sometimes we feel pressure to always say yes. And when you're always saying yes, it just exponentially grows the amount of pressure and stress and anxiety that sometimes we feel from our roles. And so I think it's really important, and it goes into the planning, is to really identify, well, what are the core things that we really need to be focused on? And then how do we put boundaries to keep some of the other things out? And one of the ways to be able to do that is by having really good communication and being able to tell people no, but being able to tell people no in the right way, and being able to share, at this moment, I'm not able to take on that additional initiative because I'm responsible for A, B, and C. However, if you take B and C away from me, if that's not as important, then yes, I can take on this new initiative that you brought in, but let's have that conversation. And again, I think that's where you've got to take ego out of it, because there's going to be some friction when you have some difficult conversations, and you have to understand that it's not always what's best for you is going to be best for the company or be best for the organization or the business. And so it's a constant give and take you've got to be cognizant of. But I want to go back to something we said at the very beginning of the live chat, Sammy, and that kind of goes with victim mentality.
Mhm.
And I see this as a virus throughout just America, and especially in the work world. And that is just the amount of people that feel like their jobs and their role and their environment is unfair, and that everything's against them, and they're constantly making excuses and coming up with reasons why things are too hard and difficult. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. We all inherently have those thoughts and those patterns, but like anything in life, we can choose the way we think, we can build up the way our brain works, and we can change the process. And I've gotten to where any time in my life, if I catch myself going down that victim mentality road, I almost feel sick to my stomach that I've allowed myself to start going down there, and I kill it and I eliminate it because it's poison. And so again, it kind of goes back to that professional work, is what are the areas of your work that you feel like are unfair, or that you feel like the system has been set against you? And how can you change that mindset? How can you see opportunities to grow? How can you see opportunities to make change? And so maybe one small example is, you mentioned being a leader in your job. And I know a lot of people that would immediately come back and be like, well, I can't be a leader because I've got three bosses, and I don't have any say in what we do. Well, I'm going to argue that. One, you can always be a leader no matter what your role is, based on how you show up to work, how you treat other people, how you approach your job, how you give passion to your job, how you give results for your job. And you can grow in your leadership skills? How can you start managing up? How can you learn to influence your bosses? And people say, well, the system's too big, the company's too big, I can't make any change. Well, why not? Have you sat down and actually thought about, planned, researched, talked to other people, found mentors that have done it? Have you learned how to be able to influence change? Have you gone to other people to say, hey, can we do this together? You have these same thoughts and ideas for growth and opportunity. There's just so many ways to combat victim mentality and turn it into a positive opportunity that I think, again, it goes back to the attitude. If people can really start grasping onto that, I think it changes the way we view our workforce. And I think you're going to start seeing more people, if you can do that, go from that 87% unengaged to that 13% that feel like, hey, yeah, my job is important. And what I'm doing plays a role into making my company prosper and helping those people that rely on us for whatever it is that we do.
Yeah, and I don't want to give away too much of the chapter because I think it's got a lot of highlights and a lot of good stuff in it. But there's definitely some stories that are um, some stories that highlight some of the struggles that some people may have that they may not know about. But I want to touch on one thing about the mentors. Finding somebody at work that you can look up to, someone you can collaborate with, and someone that can guide you along the way, be it from a different level. So maybe there's your person that's going to guide you for the first 2 years of your career or 2 years of your job. But then there's like some of those higher level people. You want to learn how they got there, what they did, like what is it that they are doing that's important. Take passion and want to understand what they get excited about, not from a standpoint of like what's in it for me, but like, again, like how can I be of value to them? Like, is there a particular initiative that they've been trying to push for the last 6 months that hasn't gotten anywhere because they don't have a key contact, right? And we're talking about a big company here, but maybe you have lunch with that key contact twice a week. You just never knew. So like maybe that's someone like maybe you can say, hey, I'd love to introduce you to Jim. Jim's a great guy. We eat lunch together. Like, and he's someone that you don't know, but you've been needing to talk to, and like let's do that. So I think what I'm saying about the mentors is it's really key. It's hard to develop and understand like what a mentor is and what you need from a mentor, but it's also kind of awkward whenever you have that mentorship relationship, but you haven't really established it. So like you almost need to look at a little card that says, will you be my mentor? And like hand it over to them. But when you find some good mentors, they're the ones that are able to really help you flourish in your career growth and plan. And sometimes they're quick to point out like, hey, I think are a better fit for this other type of role or this other type of company or something, and they can really steward you along. So I would say that if you have the opportunity to, again, it goes back to communication, but start looking at the people that you're influenced by, people that inspire you, and grab some time with them. We're all busy, but grab some time with them and see if there's anything you can learn from them as you do pursue what it is that you're doing and how to get better at what you're doing, and ask them for some feedback and insight.
Yeah, and I think that flows nicely into what we talk about in the book, and the reality is for all these focus areas that we believe people should be dedicating their time and prioritizing and really working to grow in. It all requires a plan, and so very little in life just appears out of thin air. And when we actually put plans in place to be able to pursue growth in the right areas of life, that's where you and I believe things really change and really take off. And everything that we've talked about tonight on this live chat, from building relationships with your colleagues, understanding what skill sets are necessary for you to succeed with your role, how to bridge one job to the next job, how to give your job passion, how to improve and manage up. All these things that we talk about in the chapter depend on having a good plan. And I think that's why you and I are so passionate about this book, is that it really does lay out a framework of how you can take any of those goals, any of those habits that you want to form, and you can actually put a plan in place to be able to start achieving and start making those things happen. And when you have those plans in place and you're actually actively progressing in through those, it just changes the way you live your life. It changes the way that you're viewing your life. And, for me, that's been one of the major ways that I've overcome victim mentality, and I've overcome lack of confidence in my work. And, you shared earlier that you were one of the unengaged workforce. I was too. And I was the biggest victim of working for a company that was against me and didn't appreciate me and wouldn't listen to me. And, I knew what to do and they didn't. And I could not have been a bigger fool. And I'm very fortunate that over time, I had good people to be able to support and help me and teach me to grow. And then through the work that you and I have done over the last 10 years with developing this pursuit of growth lifestyle, really being able to understand a whole new way to approach professional work that is just, it's changed my life. And I'm excited for people to be able to read the chapter and to really do some self-reflecting and understanding, hey, how can I continue to grow in what I'm doing? And in some cases, it may not be your current job, but maybe it's having multiple revenue streams and being able to put in other types of initiatives where you have passive income coming from other areas. And so, that's something the book touches on in some detail and gives some ideas and some opportunities to people pursuing that. But it's just there's so much opportunity, and I'll kind of sum up my rant with saying, again, we spend the majority of our adult life every day working. We should never settle for not excelling in something that we can give passion and love doing. And so put a plan in place and pursue growth in your professional work.
Yep. It may not be that, it may be you're in the wrong, what's the old saying? You're in the wrong seat on the right bus, or maybe you're on the wrong bus, So like you have to also look at that and not just look for satisfaction by moving to a different job or moving to a different career or whatever that may be. Truly understanding and take some time to reflect on what it is you are looking for, and where it is you do feel like you think you can do some, have some passion to give back and be able to support that company and help it grow as well. So yeah, I want to also kind of wrap up my whole comments here with, it does go back again to the plan, having the plan, writing down the plan. Number two, it goes back to the communication, not being afraid to chime in, not saying that things are wrong or right or indifferent, but being able to at least voice your opinion to some people, to ask for their opinion or ask them how you can help. That's something we alluded to a lot as well, or we mentioned a lot as well. And then figuring out how to learn how to get better at your job. It's going to sometimes require some after hours studying, maybe some classes. If you're passionate about what you do and you want to learn and get better, it's not just learning on the fly. It's some dedicated skills that you're going to need to pick up along the way, because number one, technology changes so much, and number two, theories and business practices do develop over time as well. So take that time to invest in yourself and learn a little bit more. And then I think that's going to go a long way for you in your career too.
Yeah. My three takeaways, one is something that you just touched on, is I think the mentorship is just such a huge thing. And so look at your life. Who are the people that you know? Who are the connections, the network that you're a part of? And, who are some individuals that really excel in their professional work? And go to those people and ask, hey, can we set up some time to talk periodically? I'd love to be able to learn from you. I'd love to be able to, take away some of your best practices and your mindset and how you go about doing things. And then on the flip side, look at your life and who are people you can be mentoring. You don't have to be the expert of everything to be able to help other people. There's always people we can be helping and encouraging in our lives. So again, who can be your mentor and who can you mentor, I think is a big takeaway. Two, I think it's really important, and this is something that I'll be transparent, it's challenging for me, but it's so helpful. And that is, ask people where you can be better. Learn obviously where your strengths are. Learn maybe where some your blind spots are. Where are some areas that you're struggling that you may not even see? And that's where I think the dying to ego comes into play, Because if you're open to hearing that criticism and looking at it as an opportunity to get better, that just fuels your growth. And so what a great opportunity and a great skill set to grow in. And that is to be able to go and ask people, hey, what are you seeing that I'm not seeing? How can I be better? And the third thing is what we talked about with passion, and how can you give passion to your work? And I'll share a quick story from a speaker that Sammy, you and I heard maybe about a year ago. But the speaker he's a business coach, and his job is to go into businesses and really help them to grow their culture and help them to use culture as a tool to be able to achieve the goals that they're looking to do for their clients. And so this particular company was a company that made flooring materials. And so, whether it was for schools or for businesses, they made like the materials that would do floors. And so when they met with the leadership team at the company, it was transparent and obvious that the company morale was low. People just came in and did their job. And through kind of an extensive study, the people ultimately just didn't care about their job because they didn't feel like they were important. We make freaking materials, big whoop. Well, the business coach and the leadership team had some conversations. And through those conversations, they learned the biggest clients they had were hospitals. And so they actually went and talked to the hospitals, and they learned that the specific type of material that they made for their flooring went into the operations, the ER rooms. And that type of flooring, had it not been there, would be detrimental to being able to save lives and to do these different things the hospitals had to have happen. And so ultimately what they figured out is, okay, we went from a company that just made this material for floors to actually, we make materials that save lives. And so they started incorporating statistics from the hospitals of how many people were saved in the ER, how many cancer patients recovered, how many people were admitted and overcame their illnesses, how many babies were born in the ward where all the deliveries are done. And they started making that a part of their metrics. And over the course of the year, the morale of the company changed, the culture changed, the results changed because they had purpose, they had passion. They were excited about the fact that they were going to work every day to save lives and to change, everyday people's lives for the better. And so again, it was a change in mindset. And I just thought that was one of the coolest stories that I think I've ever heard in regards to professional work. So maybe look at your company and look at your business. How do you affect the lives of the people that are your clients or the people that you work with? How are you making their lives better? Good question to ask.
Yeah, and I don't know if I can even have anything more to add on top of that because that's a great story of illustrating everything that we talked about here. It encompasses everything. So with that, I think that I am good. I've given my action points as well, Greg, and I appreciate your feedback and insight on this whole topic and chapter as well, because it's something that you're going to continue to learn. You're going to continue to grow. And I know we're excited about learning from other people and how we can help other people along this path too. Again, we don't have every answer, but we have a plan. We have
and I can tell you this, everything we just listed as takeaways, I'm like, there's things that I can do tomorrow to get better at every single one of those things. And so it's not something that you never just hit the ultimate success with. It's consistent growth and active progress and continue to move forward. So yeah, man, that kind of inspires me to man, get rocking and rolling, man. I can't wait for tomorrow morning.
That's right. And we've got a lot on our plates coming up too with the release of our brand new book, The Pursuit of Growth. So don't think we don't have an action plan for this as well. So sales and marketing plan. Hopefully this can reach the masses and get out to people that are going to need it. But then also hope there's the opportunity for us to be able to work one-on-one with people and really challenge them and help them grow in different areas too. So go to our website, livetpg.com. Take a look at what we have built out there. The website's pretty much done. We're just tweaking little things here and there, but if you spot something, let us know and pick up a copy of the book, maybe for you and maybe for one of your mentors as well. Maybe you can read through it together. But with that, Greg, I'll pitch it back over to you to wrap us up.
Yeah. So I think in addition to going to our website, check out us on social media. So you can search Pursuit of Growth or Live TPG on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Follow us. Message us, tell us what you're working on. ultimately, the book and what we're really bringing to the masses is pursuing growth in the key foundational elements of life. And we're excited to share more of that with you. And we want to join the journey and help encourage people to, just enjoy life. And let's get after it. That's all I got.
All right. Well, take us out, Greg.
Cool. Well, we'll see you next week for live chat number 10. Not sure what that chat's going to be yet, but it'll be a big one, number 10. So thank you, peace, and pursue growth.